I'm Mike Hessenius. I went up to Mayo Clinic to get an ankle fusion back in 2011, and they told me 2 to 3 months I'd be walking. 2 to 3 months I ended up having an infection. I went to Mercy Hospital and they found MRSA, staph, and strep. So I ended up going through multiple surgeries in 2012. Spent 187 days in the hospital with 7 surgeries. The rest was getting IVs. 5 days short of a year, Mayo released me. Said I was good. 5 days later, I was back in the hospital again. I still had MRSA. So I had hyperbaric chambers for 90 days. I ended up being free from MRSA, but I chose not to have a 3rd ankle fusion. But I walked around basically on a broken ankle for a year. So after I figured out I couldn't do that for my life, I decided to have it amputated. So I did that in November of 2014. So then after that, 5 weeks later, I got the leg at Clark Prosthetics. And in 5 weeks, I was walking up down the hallway and down the stairs, and I was back to the gym. So I've been to the gym my whole life. I was still working at that time. I'd worked in modern piping for 42 years. I continued to work, continued going to the gym. And so now I'm retired. Been retired 3 years. I come in here 7 days a week, every day. I usually run at least 2 miles on a elliptical stepper. And if I hadn't had the workouts, hadn't done the stuff, hadn't gotten the leg from Clark, I wouldn't be in the situation I'm in now to be able to enjoy my life. Changes after I got my leg, I was always the one that I kind of had to govern how far I walked and where I walked to and where I wanted to stop. I had to find a stopping point. And now we go places. I go on trips to with a motorcycle down to Florida. We ride for a week. Now I'm out in front of the pack because I use my own stride and everybody keeps up with me, which is things I couldn't do before. And my wife likes the fact that I'm out running around again instead of not being able to get out of the chair. I couldn't walk for 8 months when I had my surgeries and that. And it wasn't much better before the surgeries either. My ankle had basically turned 45 degrees in, and so I walked on the side of my foot. As far as any advice for anybody as far as going with whatever you're dealt, my whole life I never felt that I couldn't do anything, and there's always a positive point to it. When I was going to the hospitals for my leg, I never got any good answers, but I never took it to heart totally. I always knew something will change and something will always be better, but I got to work at it. It's like when I did walk around a year like I had a busted ankle, but it was just a lack of fusion, and you just got to go with a positive attitude and make the best out of whatever you have, because it will get better. But the only way it'll get better is if you have the attitude that it will, because it's not going to get better on itself. You can't buy a pill, you can't read a book. It's the attitude that you have. One of the advantages I feel I have is I work with Clark Prosthetics, and I work with Brian there. Him and I have a pretty good relationship. It kind of goes back a lot of years before I ever knew him as being my prosthetic person. He played softball against each other, so we got a pretty good relationship. We talk back and forth, and I can tell him exactly what I think, and sometimes he doesn't like it, but we have a good time, and we always enjoy the time that we're in there, and I always get a good fit.